Why don't we go horseback riding? Zatkai asked. The two of us were back at the garden, this time with Katrona. We didn't really have much to do and have been hanging out since this morning. We did have breakfast again after not eating anything the first time, and when we were done, I took them to the twins' nursery, where we stayed for some time, playing with them till they fell asleep. Now it was evening, and we were back in the garden, the three of us, with Neith out of sight. To be honest, I haven't seen her since this morning's altercation. It feels like she was purposely avoiding encountering me because of Zatkai, and right now, even if I wanted to talk to her, it could wait. Going on a fun ride does sound so nice. I beamed, raising my feet. If I remember correctly, I promised to show you the stable. That you did. Zatkai says it with a smile. What about you, princess? He asked, turning to look at Katrona, who shook her head, turning down the idea of horse riding. Come on, it's going to be fun. He whines, refusing to take no for an answer. Katrona tilted her head to the side, contemplating the idea, before giving a curt head nod, and Zatkai did a weird celebratory dance. The three of us walked back to our chambers, changing into comfortable riding gear before assembling outside the stable. Katrona was going to ride with Zatkai, so I gave them one of the horses in the stable before mounting on mine. And we both rode with the wind, Zatkai following beside me. I decided to make it more fun and make it a race. I rode past him, and he followed behind, trying to catch up with me. A few hours later, I pulled my horse to a stop on the crest of the hill and waited for Zatkai to catch up. Hurry up, slowpoke! I called back in the direction he'd come, enjoying the feel of the wind whipping through my long hair, which had come loose as I galloped into the nearby hills. It was exhilarating being out here, seeing the seasons change, and not having a care in the world. But, as I turned to call again for Zatkai, I suddenly realized that the sound of approaching hooves was too loud to come from only one horse. Who on earth could Zatkai have bumped into all the way out here? Suddenly uneasy, I turned my horse in the direction I'd just come from, but I had only traveled a few paces when Zatkai's horse appeared from the tree line. I pulled my horse to a stop and waited as they approached. Where did you both run off to? I questioned, mounting my horse. Zatkai mounts off his horse, letting Katrona down as well, before making his way towards me. My brows creased when I didn't spot any horses nearby. Since you decided to run off on us, we got tired of chasing you, so we decided to check out the scenery. I think we saw a lake back there. I was certain I had heard sounds of horse heaving, yet wasn't able to catch any sight of anyone except the three of us. Snapping out of my thought, I smiled at him before responding. That should be Darium and my secret hangout. Can we go for a swim? That is, if it's okay with you. He asked, and I nodded, letting him know I didn't mind. We both made our way to the lake, letting the horse run free for a while. Zatkai wasted no time, jumping into the chilly water with a shriek, and I laughed, taking a seat beside the stone. I wiped my hand over the small tomb, plunking out the weed. It had been a while since I last visited here, and a sense of guilt gripped my heart. Whose tomb is that? Zatkai asked from the water, his brow furrowed, causing Katrona to look my way, taking in the inscription written on the stone, and her eyes welled up in tears. I grabbed a hold of her hand, letting her know that I didn't hold it against her, before turning my attention back to Zatkai, and I smiled. It's Darium and my child, our little angel. I'm sorry for your loss. It's nothing, I said, moving my hand around the stone. Should we not have come here? I feel like we are prying on your privacy. You don't have to leave, I don't mind you being here, I said. Come, let me introduce you to my star.
Third person's POV.
I think this is the perfect time to attack them. I'm sure they are already searching for you. Let's attack them when they least expect it, and we can both get what we want early. King Orin said, frustrated and tired of having to wait. The idea of his precious Letitia spending more time with that savage king as he takes her. The fact that she moans his name every night drove him to insanity. Jealousy was eating up on him, and he wasn't sure how long he could hold it. He wanted her now, he wanted to wake up to her every day, he wanted to possess every single part of her, and he so badly wanted to make love with her. Watching as she whimpers and moans his name. Just the thought of it sent pressure to his groin. Not now, Oren, Darium is out for it, and I barely managed to escape his wrath. The last thing we need is to rush in with our plan. We are almost there, what more can a little bit of patience cause? Soon you will have your precious Letitia, and I will have my way. Still full of secrets, are we? King Oren mutters, taking a huge gulp of the drink in his hand. It's not my business anyway, I couldn't care less about what your aim is, as long as it doesn't clash with mine or stop me from getting what I want. Don't worry, as much as I despise the Ahades princess, I will bring her to you. It's amazing how you never refer her as your queen, not that I mind. He says it lazily, gazing at the woman in front of him. That Ahades princess is no queen to me. She yells. If it were up to me, I would send her back to the dirt she came from, but obviously I can't do that. It doesn't matter where I send her, as long as she is gone. You should see her face after finding out about the betrayer, it was so comical. It felt nice not having to put on a face in front of her and pretend to like her. King Oren rolled his eyes at this, his eyes blazed with anger. I get that you don't like her, but it would be nice not to talk about her in such a manner. She is, after all, going to be my queen. His voice was calm but threatening. Even though he was curious as to why she was helping him and going against her kingdom to help him, he decided not to pry. Like he told her, it wasn't any of his business as long as he'd got Letitia and the throne. That meant putting an end to his brother bastard, but that would soon be handled. He carried on taking a sip of his drink as he lay lazily on his throne, eager for what was to come.
It has been nearly a week since Zakkai and Katrona came, and we have managed to spend every single day together, with today not being an exception. Except this time, it was just Katrona and me. Zakkai said he wanted to tour the palace some more, and we should carry along our girly stuff. Those were literally his words. Not that I mind, I took the opportunity to spend time with Katrona. We have been making great memories, and I could tell she was feeling very comfortable around me, which made me very happy. Right now we were at the fitting room, with me rocking Arsenio and Hasoslava in their bouncers while Katrona tried on some dresses. She was adamant at first, but I was able to convince her. It still amazed me how much she had changed. If it had been in the past, her face would have brightened up just by the thought of getting a new dress or jewelry. A part of me wishes she would have that youthful spirit again, but one step at a time, I just need to follow her pace until she is ready to come out of her shell. I got to my feet, leaving the twins to play as I walked over to where she stood, holding yet another dress. I helped her with the corset as she held onto the wooden stand on each side of her. Let me know if it's too tight. As I fiddled with the strings, my attention was focused on the corset, and she gave a nod as I continued to tighten the corset. I pulled the strings in a go, causing her to yell. I was quick to loosen it. Sorry, I am not used to dressing corsets. My voice was panicky as my fingers moved fast. To be honest, I don't quite like it myself. It's way too uncomfortable. Thankfully, the dress made in Nisha requires less of it. She turned a bit to the side, giving a smile and letting me know she was listening to me before using her hand to gesture to herself, and her face scorched up. This caused me to laugh. Who would have thought you hated it too? I always thought you didn't mind as long as it made you look beautiful and graceful. She rolls her eyes playfully, letting out a disapproving groan, and the both of us end up laughing. I loosened the corset and brought the dress, which was hung on the rack along with other beautiful dresses. It was magnificent, and I must admit the seamstress did a wonderful job making them. This is beautiful, I said, and her eyes twinkled at the sight of the dress. I helped her into the dress, making it fit perfectly on her before pulling up the zipper. It is truly gorgeous and complements your skin. She walked over to the mirror, taking a glance at her reflection, and her lips parted in small gasps. It fitted her perfectly, the length of the skirt and the sleeves were perfect, as if stitched just for her, and the color wasn't flashy at all, rather, it complemented her eyes. With her eyes still fixed on the dress, I walked over to her, gathering her hair up as I began adorning them with beautiful hairpins. Why don't you try on the shoes since they complement the dress? I asked, and she nodded before walking to where they were and putting them on. You look really beautiful, Katrona. I said it with a glimmer of tears in my eyes. I stare at how radiant she looks, and she smiles, blushing a little. Come, let's go find Zakkai. Her eyes widen, and she takes a step back, shaking her head. I could see the nervousness on her face, and a small smile crossed mine. You are beautiful and would no doubt leave him stunned. I reasoned. Don't you want to know what his thought on your dress? Katrona's eyes lit up, and I could tell she wanted to know what his reaction might be. I smiled, walking back to where Arsenio and Hasoslava lay, picking Arsenio up while the nanny picked up Hasoslava, and we all made our way out of the fitting room in search of Zakkai. We toured the lower path of the palace in search of him, but couldn't find him, then moved to the garden and our stable, yet we were still not able to find him. When we returned back to the palace, I handed Arsenio over to Gareth as he and the nanny made their way to Darium's office, so he could spend quality time with them while Katrona and I carried on with our search. Katrona placed her hand on mine, stopping me, and I turned to look at her, seeing a dejected look on her face as she shook her head. We can still look for him, I reasoned, but she shook her head again, and I sighed. Fine, at least let's get a glass of water, I'm thirsty. She nods. We got to the kitchen with me walking in first, and my step halted as I stared at the sight in front of me with Katrona behind me. I wasn't sure why I didn't think of the possibility of him being in the kitchen, because that was exactly where he was. He sat at a far end of the kitchen munching on varieties of snacks, bobbing his head while chatting with the head maid. Your Majesty! The maids who spotted me greeted me while bowing their heads. This caused Sakai's head to shoot up, and a smile stretched his lips as he waved his hands filled with food at me, making me laugh. Latoia! He mutters with food in his mouth, getting to his feet. Why am I not even surprised? Of course you would be in the kitchen. I weigh starving Soikamine for some evening snacks. He mumbles again while still munching on the food in his mouth. I can't understand a word you just said, Zakkai. I laughed. Have you heard of table manners? You aren't to talk with your mouth full. He rolls his eyes and his lips parted like he was about to say something, but instead he just stood there, mouth open wide, hands filled with snacks, unmoving. I followed his line of sight to behind me to see him staring at Katrona, who had a flushed look. He began letting out a series of hiccups, almost choking on his face, when Katrona raced past me to get a glass of wine, handing it over to him, and he took it, talking a gulp while still staring at her. I guess my work here is done. Deciding to give the two privacy, I made my way towards Darium's office. Since he was with the twins, I wanted to spend quality bonding time with them. The feeling of Darium's lips on my neck was what woke me up the following morning. I smiled, wrapping my arm around his neck as he placed soft, wet kisses on my skin while my eyes groggily peeled open. His lips left my neck and his face raised, his eyes meeting mine. I feel like the universe is against us. He mutters underneath his breath, and I turn to look at him, puzzled. I mean, lately, anytime we get a bit intimate, then something or someone tends to come up. He explains just as another knock resonated around the room. Well, I don't think the universe is against us, I said, brushing my fingers through his hair. Though I do agree about the fact that we do get interrupted in moments like this, I guess we just need to find a better time. He gave me a stare, and I sighed. You know what I mean? The palace has gotten busy lately, which makes us busy as well. I spoke softly, and he groaned. Come on, stop being grumpy, and go check who is at the door before they break it down. Another knock boomed around the room, and he sighs, moving away from me as he gets to his feet, walking over to the door before pulling it open. Your Majesty, something dreadful has happened in the palace. One of the guards said, another body has been discovered just outside the palace walls in the woods. Identification is difficult because the face has been brutally damaged, but one thing is certain, he is one of us. A palace guard. He was speaking so fast that I was surprised I was able to catch every word. At his words, I got to my feet, wrapping a robe around my body as I walked over to the door to meet them. Where is the body? Darium asked, an unreadable look on his face. It has been taken to the dungeon. The guard answers Darium's question before bowing to me. And there is no means to identify this man. None. Your Majesty. The man said, I'm afraid he didn't have his tag with him. Go on ahead. I will be there with you shortly. Darium orders, get the healer as well. Yes, Your Majesty, my queen. He bows before walking away. Another body, Darium, what is going on? I asked as he closed the door. My voice filled with panic. Do you think it has anything to do with King Orin? It's nothing to be frightened of, as we can't be certain yet, he says. This could have been an accident or something easily explained. We don't know who the guard is and haven't found out the cause of death. He walks over to the couch, picking up his shirt that had been discarded there last night. We don't need to jump to conclusions until we know what is going on. He placed both hands on my shoulder, giving me a reassuring glance before leaning down to place a kiss on my forehead. Worry not, my love. He says this before walking out of the room. I tried not to get frenzied about it, but it didn't sit well with me knowing Kaelin had been here with the news about Kiva and a week after a body of an unidentified guard was found. Worry gripped my heart at the thought of it being him, since whoever was in a ploy with this silly game was taking out everyone who knew the truth about them. No, I couldn't just wait here and ponder about the body being Kaelin. I needed to see for myself who it was. Without wasting any time, I cleaned up and got dressed, making my way out of the room and towards the dungeon. When I got to the gate, I pushed it open, and it made a loud creaking noise, alerting the people inside. Your Majesty. Luca was the first person to acknowledge my presence, bowing his head as he showed respect. Letitia, it's been a while. Zane says, giving a hand wave, and I smile in return, while Nico gives a head bow. Letitia, what are you doing here? Darium asked as he tried using his body to block the dead man who lay on a big table. I wanted to know what the update was, I said, taking a step closer and trying to get a closer look at the body, but he walked over to me, placing his hands on my shoulders and using his body to block mine. The body has been identified. And? I asked, urging him to give more information. He was one of the men assigned to guard the entrance to the kingdom. I let out a quick sigh of relief. This made Darium look at me with confusion. We still don't know why he is here or why he left his post, but Luca thinks he might have been poisoned. What about his face being smashed? The animals probably got to him first. You don't have to worry about it being Orin, he assures me. I took a deep breath, Kaelin's words still lingering at the back of my head. What is the problem? It seems something else is still troubling you. It's Kaelin. I blurted it out without thinking. Commander Matthew. Nico asked, befuddled. What about him? He came over a few nights ago, saying he had something to tell me about Kiva, but for some reason he seemed frightened and then ran off. I had expected him to come find me later the next day, since whatever information he had looked to be important. I had thought to sort him out, but my mind had been all over the place with Kaytrona's visit. When I heard a guard was found dead, I was scared that it might have been him. I explained, feeling downcast. Now I'm beginning to think I should have looked for him and listened to whatever he had to say. When was this? Darium asked, and I looked away, avoiding his gaze. The night after I left the drawing room. I answered, glancing down as I felt guilty for not having told him when it happened. You should have told me immediately, Darium says, cupping my cheek. We still don't know who is in alliance with the Hyatias or what their motives are. But he has news about Kiva. Then it's best we go get him, Nico says. If he truly has news about Kiva, then it's best we know what it is. Bring him to the Chancery. Darium gave orders before taking a hold of my hand, and we both walked out of the dungeon.